All right, good evening, everybody. Before we kick off the regular city council meeting, we did have a scheduled committee meeting that our special presentation for budget did run long, so we weren't able to get to tonight. So we will be pushing that and having that meeting probably our next scheduled city council meeting, but so you can keep an eye out for getting that rescheduled for the sewer refuse rates discussion. So we'll have that an additional meeting in the future. So I will now call to order tonight's regular City of Cedar Falls City Council meeting for Monday, April 7th. Madam Clerk, roll call, please.
Schultz.
Here.
Latta.
Here.
Cruz.
Here.
Hallbaker.
Here.
Canfield.
Here.
Chrisman.
Here.
Dunn.
Here.
All members present, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. And if willing and able, could everyone please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance?
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, everyone. I'll look for a motion to approve the regular meeting of March 17th minutes.
So moved.
Second.
Motion and seconded. And any discussion? Any from the public? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? That motion carries. Madam Clerk, any agenda revisions?
I have no agenda revisions, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. And tonight we do have a special presentation. So we don't have these very often, but we have a pretty special award we have to give out today. So every year the League of Cities, the Iowa League of Cities, which is kind of a membership group of a lot of the cities around the state, does a If I Were Mayor for a Day essay contest for our junior high students. And we happen to have our regional winner who won here in Cedar Falls for the, I don't know the exact reason, excuse me. But so if I could ask Jasmine and Mike to come up from, and Elaine, her teacher as well, I'll come down there. All right, you guys come on the other side. We'll turn the mic. So I will let you, if you'd like to kind of give some background.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor, Council, everyone here for your time. I'm Mike Armstrong. I'm with the Iowa League of Cities. We have 850 member cities across Iowa. We are all about providing training and resources to our elected officials as well as our city staffers to make sure that we are governing in the best way possible and the most responsive way possible to our communities. We've run this essay contest for about 10 years now. And every year we are just so impressed with the forethought and ingenuity of Iowa students. And it's especially important to us because we know that our future mayors, our future leaders are in our communities today. So this year we received 350 submissions, and with the help of the Iowa Mayors Association, we selected 4 winners from across the state. And so for the Congressional District 2, we have our winner here, and Mayor Laudick is going to present the award.
So quickly, each year as well, I've been here 1 year, it's my second year, but each of the years I've been here, I also get a chance to read through all the submissions, and then we do locally a half-day tour around town, seeing all of our departments, and getting to spend time spending mayor for a day. And so I've had the pleasure to read Jasmine's essay, and it is one of those things where when you're in the role, you start to just get into the routine, but then you forget when someone's looking at it from the outside on what does this role mean to the community, but then also the local problems that you sometimes forget when I'm no longer a junior high student. If any of you know this, I know I'm very baby-faced. But so when you get to hear from a lot of the students and youth on what's going on, what are they impacted by in the community, they're actually some pretty inspiring essays. So I just want to say congratulations. I know I offered if you'd like to come and talk, but I understand. And I know you're from Holmes, junior high. I went to Pete, so boo. I'm sorry. Next
Go
year.
Tigers.
Go Tigers. Yeah. So congratulations. Are you sure, Elaine, would you like to say anything on behalf of your students? I mean, you coached them. You put a lot of work in. So.
No, Jasmine's just done a great job. She's very engaged in class. So we talked about that at parent-teacher conferences as well. She particularly likes to watch CNN 10 and always has comments on what's going on in the world. So it's great to see someone so engaged.
So again, congratulations. Let's give a big round of applause. Want to come up for the photo? Make a And I would say, Jasmine, you and the family are more than welcome to stay for the whole council meeting, if you'd like, but also you're more than welcome to leave as well. So again, congratulations. One more round of applause. Yes. All right. So we will now move to public forum, where members of the community will have up to 5 minutes to speak on topics relevant to city business. If there is an item you'd like to speak on that's in the agenda, we'll have public comment on those later as well. So this would be for anything that's not on the agenda tonight. So is there anyone that would like to speak for public comment tonight? Just name and city, please.
Okay. Dennis Pruckler. I live here in Cedar Falls. I'm handing out just some handouts from study that the city commissioned about 8 or 9 years ago on the watersheds in North Cedar Falls. And so there'll be just a map of the watersheds on one side and a map on the back of what it could look like if we develop with the watersheds. My main interest in talking tonight is to prevent unintended consequences, which often happen when they're often natural consequences of breaking a natural law. And one of the natural laws is don't build in front of the waterway. The waterway will ultimately win or beat you up real bad. If you look at the map, I'm sorry I didn't have quite enough for everybody. I didn't have a good count, but if you look at the watersheds up there, there's an orange one. That's the orange waterway going way north all the way up almost to Janesville. That one could be connected to the Cedar River ultimately and create a bypass channel that goes almost all the way around Cedar Falls if it were to flood. And it could be adjusted to trigger when the water flood levels hit about 90,000 cubic feet, and it would keep it from hitting the 500-year levels because the water would have somewhere else to go and it would be going around us, not over us. Main thing, though, I know you're looking at the next 10 years, which this is a 50-year forecast, look ahead, but in the next 10-year plan, as you start looking at developing this area, look to develop around those natural waterways along Snag Creek and use them as natural drainage. They all empty right down towards the river. Gravity, if you develop housing and stuff, so the water flows into those natural waterways, you'll have natural green belts, natural water treatment. It'll remove nitrates. You can have a chain of wetlands, green areas extending right up into neighborhoods. And it's called green development. It's engineering with nature rather than against it or across it or over it. And you don't get the unintended consequences or natural consequences if you engineer with nature. And that's what I've been talking about almost every time I'm here. The last time I wasn't a fun talk, but I was talking about what happens when we've engineered against nature and it bites us back, and we'll continue to. But just look at how to develop. On the back side of this page, there's one that just shows what the wetlands could look like and how residential areas could all have green belts that drain into the waterways. And it's a lot less expensive. You don't need storm sewers because nature takes care of the floodwater runoff. You won't have the problems that we have in so many other parts of Cedar Falls where we didn't look at natural drainage and we have to have pumping stations and all kinds of things. Why not let nature, gravity, do those things for us? If you also notice, all those waterways would empty the storm sewer, and and our city sewer also would be naturally draining right down to across the river from our water treatment plant. And you don't need pumping stations and stuff if gravity does the work. Utility lines, everything can cross, plus you have natural trails and areas leading into all residential almost everywhere in all of North Cedar Falls could have a nature trail within a few blocks of where you live. And this is our goal, to have a green community. And this could, we could be almost a model if we develop along the natural waterways instead of against them. Yeah, I've got my little, this is a very natural clock. It tells me that my time is up, so thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Pruckler.
Works on the law of gravity.
Touche.
Mr.
Well
Mayor,
done. Yeah.
I could ask a question of him on this?
Is there a quick one there? I'd hold off if we can maybe connect with them afterwards,
Okay.
if that's okay. Thanks, Counselor. Anyone else for public comments tonight? Just name and address, please.
Rosemary Beach, Western Home Community. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I have missed you. I haven't been here. I'm sure you've missed me. So anyway, I'm back on my first want. I want a bathroom. I want a restroom. I just went in here and I measured it. So now I know it's 6 by 12. And that is the perfect bathroom, and I am assuming City Hall had to have the perfect bathroom or they weren't going to let you put it in. I suspect it's code. So having 2 of those, if I could just have one, and I would take it maybe over by the Tourism Bureau. I don't know how much land that has, but I drove down there yesterday, and it seems to me, I only want one. It can be for she's and he's both. We understand that. And so I only want one. I found a new book, and since I'm on a dementia subject because of Bob and Alzheimer's, that people who have that, and I suspect most of the people in here know somebody, or probably pretty closely, that is tied up with that. It's not a good thing. It's not a happy thing. But one of the things you can do, I found out, is if you keep that person going out of his house, going out of their house, going places, being able to be out among people was the best thing for Bob, because they knew him, they could talk to him. I found that was really helpful. So I found this book, which I would suggest if anybody wants to get one. It's called Finding Life in the Land of Alzheimer's. And this is done by a lady who is a newspaper person, and she went and worked in an Alzheimer's unit. And so, but it's on the back that I wanted to read this. Nearly 5 million people in the United States are living with Alzheimer's. And it's a dreadful disease. So keeping those people who have it, who don't know what they're doing because they've forgotten it. Bob received a lovely walker from the Legion, or from the, what do I want to say? Well, that'll work. Anyway, and he used that, and we got out, and we went to places. But when you find the little bathrooms that you have to get in that door, you have to turn around, you have to get your pants down, you have to sit down, you have to get up, you have to wash your hands, you have to get the walker, you have to get to a door, and the walker's this much bigger. To get to the door, it's really kind of hard to do. And when you walk, I'm sure all of you up here have been in these bathrooms during the time they've been in. Then I'd like to just add one other thing. When I talk about dimensional, this came out at Western Home just the other day. 10 million people are living with Parkinson's, and that in itself is so difficult for them to walk and move. I just guess I can't see that we can't afford a 10 or a 12 or whatever I just said, 6 by 12 room with a stool, and also for parents. I was thinking of it more some of the times for the visitors, but we live in an old community. How many places have this many communities with old people in it? And I'm struck by the fact, knowing what Alzheimer's and dementia is doing to people, make it easy for them for a while. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Beach. Anyone else for public comment tonight? Name and address, please.
Rick Sharp, 1623 Birch Street, Cedar Falls. So, heard part of the conversation for the budget. I don't envy y'all at all, but again, wants versus needs. What the council thinks the need might be something that the public's just like, it's a want. It's not a necessary item. Just like when we're throwing away money to UNI or Cedar Falls High or the schools, I know some of that funding got pulled back, but again, they have their own methods of generating revenue. The school district especially. If they want those items that badly, they always have those referendums for us to do that. Secondly, for the public to get involved, I asked for this in the past, and I'll start asking for it as we get closer, but let's televise goal setting. You know, I mean, it's 2 or 3 or 4 days, 4 or 5 hours each day sometimes. Those of us at work, we can't be there. You guys signed up for this. So, you know, you guys have to be there, but at least put it on YouTube. So those of us, when we have the time, we can actually sit back, watch it, take detailed notes, and then we can reach out to you council members with our thoughts on it. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Sharp. Anyone else for public comment tonight? Just name and address, please.
Craig Fairbanks, 405 Spruce Hills Drive. Going back to the tax meeting, I have a couple other thoughts. We sat and passed the Main Street project with an excessive amount of increase. Now, I would say that I guess I learned that Director Shaggy had gotten that money back through a grant, so I appreciate those things. However, I do appreciate what the previous speaker said. We pay 46% of our property taxes that go to the school. I don't think our city needs to be putting more money on top of that. There are things we can cut. But if you ask the people who are in charge that you can't prune your own trees, somebody else needs to look at it. Do we need a Doge in here? Do we need somebody to come in and actually look at the budget? Because I'll guarantee you I can find stuff. There's plenty of things. The one that I think of offhand, and nobody maybe likes this, but DEI has kind of run this full circle. Is that something we can stop? Human Rights Commission, do we have enough going on that we need that? Can we cut that? There's plenty of things to cut. Now, I like my city and I like my services, okay? And it's been a pleasure to live in Cedar Falls. And I'm not looking to move away. But sometimes we just feel like we're not heard. That meeting is the only meeting that the public gets to say anything about this budget. It's all been done at goal setting. It's all been done behind closed doors. You have all these work sessions, but there's no public comment. So the idea about having it televised seems like a great idea to me. It needs to be more open. The transparency needs to be there. We get no say unless our representatives say something. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Fairbanks. There are a few items here I would like to follow up on, just some of the technicalities here. So the DEI piece, our Human Rights Commission is a state mandated board and commission that we are required to have. And I would say too, a lot of the work that they do is making sure that any claims of housing concerns, people being discriminated against on any basis on housing, employment, these are issues that significantly impact people's lives, and we need an entity who it is their job to make sure they are looking at those, taking those complaints in. For our Human Rights Commission, the body does refer a lot of the complaints. They take in the initial complaint, discuss with them, look at it, and then refer it to the state for official investigation if it seems there's a case there that they'd like to move forward. A lot of those things, to me, are unquestionably important to this community. Again, it's a state-mandated board, so I'm not certain what specific DEI work you're referring to. I know as a community we have a lot of work to do. We're continually trying to make sure that we have ADA compliance, that we're welcoming to people, that we're making sure as a governmental entity that we are doing everything required of us, that we are fulfilling federal obligations, state obligations, and in general there's nothing about that board. I believe too, in terms of the budget, I don't believe we've got a very small budget. I think our Human Rights Commission's budget for this coming year is $6,000. The group fundraises for itself, does a lot to help maintain their efforts. And so one, I would just say it's not a budgetary concern really for the city. A lot of that work is supported from within the group, and a lot of that is state mandated work that we're required to have, and to have a staff member who liaises with that group to maintain our support of it, the work that we need to do, and that way if there's any issues that come up, we as a city are able to respond to them. On the budget discussion, did also want to clarify the previous work session we had, so our goal setting meetings are public. People are able to come. Correct, though, there's not comment to those. However, we do only do the audio recording, so we don't have the video for it. But we did them for the budget. We had a secondary work session after that, which at the work session, because we were giving direction to staff and voting on that, there was public comment. So there was an input. We've had 3 chances for public to come and present. But also, I would incredibly always encourage, we as a body here are always available. Your voice as a people, as a representative citizenry, we elect members to represent us, and it is your ability to reach out to your representative elected official, give them your thoughts, and hope that they bring that to the discussions. That's how representative democracy works. And I would encourage, please, I think I can speak for everyone up here, we want to hear from you. We want to sit down and talk with you. And honestly, that's the biggest thing a lot of times we talk about is we don't like when we come to a meeting and we've gotten no feedback from only maybe a handful of people, and we would love to hear from more people in these discussions. So I would say we've still got another chance for the budget discussion at the next meeting. We had one tonight with public chance or public opportunity to speak, and we'll have another one on April 21st for the final approval of that budget. Okay, any other public speakers tonight? Just name and address, please.
Address also? Okay.
Yes, please.
Okay. Bob Manning, 2908 West 3rd Street, Cedar Falls, 50613 USA. I spoke a bit with you at your last meeting 2 or 3 weeks ago, and talked about the benefit of the public-private partnership that developed into a strong industrial park called Cedar Falls Industrial Park. And I wanted to tie that back into residential lots. I spoke a bit about residential, but there's opportunity, in my opinion, to tie private and public interest together to help in the development. The amount of buildable lots is lacking this year, and that adds to the tax base and the tax rolls and to the school and just a number of things. So I hope there can be some progress moving forward on that. I also wanted to talk about why that is that it can happen now. You know, a lot of us talk about the interest rates and the costs of new construction in particular, but at today's current interest rates, in the mid-6s, for every $100,000 that you want to borrow on a 30-year basis, is about $635 and change, give or take a little bit there. So you can borrow $100,000 to buy or build your house for $635. So if you're building a $300,000 house, or you need to borrow $300,000, your payment would be 3 times that, or about $1,900. Taxes and insurance have to be added to that to make it all flow properly. But it's amazing. We hear in the media that everything is out of hand, and it is more expensive. But sometimes, perhaps like many of you, the first house payment that I had was tough, and it wasn't in some real rosy times. But you know, you get through it. Now you eat the beans and rice like the guy on the radio says, and you make some sacrifices, and you don't go to the movies as often or whatever when you're young and trying to afford that first house. But with current interest rates in today's market, you can borrow money that fits within your financial situation. Certainly not everybody, but more than we're seeing in the market right now. So we'd like to do anything and everything we can to encourage real estate sales, real estate construction. I know in some cases, in my banking days, I used to finance a lot purchase, and that was people's way of building some equity and eventually able to construct a new house. Or they'd get into it 5 years and they would sell the lot at a profit and then use that to buy a house or build a house somewhere else. So there's a lot of real possibilities out there, and I'd like to challenge you to see what else we can do to help our market continue to grow. That 2 and 3% growth that we've seen over the years has been very, very strong for Cedar Falls and very worthwhile to our tax base and to our school taxes that have been other subjects that others have discussed tonight. So just want to leave you with that, folks, and thank you for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Manning. Anyone else for public comment this evening? Just name and address, please.
Good evening. Kim Jensen, Jordan, Cedar Falls. And I'd just like to start with due respect. I had reached out about the First Street and Union Road intersection and asked for a phone call back on a Tuesday as demolition was happening at the property kitty corner from Runyon's. And a whole week went by, no return phone call. It was just to go through the proper channels to make sure that someone could go out from our city park staff and just kind of save some of the windbreak, because at a previous meeting I had expressed a concern for the drifting, and that's a very open area that we're going to expect DOT to keep open. So without getting a phone call, it does fall on deaf ears, and we don't always seem to want to hear from people, and I just wanted to note that. As far as the budget, I was kind of focusing on giving some ideas of things that we could maybe reduce or stop. Last year we looked at 18th Street and 12th Street as pulling those two away from Main Street. It was a $10 million over budget that City Administrator Ron Gaines had approved, I believe, 2 years ago. It still will be extreme amount of money that we could save by increasing the length of the lights, updating the ability for the fire department to get out properly, and keep it as a start and stop so that when we have business or trailers coming in with semi-goods for up on the College Hill or coming down to the historic district for food services and so forth, we are not blocking all of our north and south ends with roundabouts. So we're thinking ahead and being proactive. We can still widen, we just don't need the over budget, and it's an exorbitant amount of money for the art and everything else that you're putting in these roundabouts that we're getting a peripheral view as we're driving by. I'd rather see it on a trail if we have to do any of it at all. We have way too many trees along Main Street. They are not set up properly. We are a tree city, but we have zero on First Street, and I mean, that's another thing that you can scale back. We can maybe dig those up, Mr. Schrage, and place them around a little bit, but if you measure trunk to trunk, overplanted. And we have electrical lights, and now we're talking about trying to not have a canopy over the roads, and we're going to clear cut everything up.
Ms. Jensen, please keep it down.
Okay. Another thing that we can eliminate is the parking lot right here at the Richard McAllister Administration Center. I don't see a need for that if we're not going to do anything up at the Sartori property on the east entrance especially, but that was in the budget to kind of look at doing. We also have, let's see, topsoil account. I would like to see if we can have a topsoil account that it does not leave the premises on these A1 agricultural land that we're going to be developing or potentially off there on First Street. We never did create a Sartori Foundation account, which a question would be how much is currently in that Sartori Foundation account that's parked into the sewer account. If we could get a feel for that number. We've created a RAGBRAI bicycle account, which when we are lucky enough to get the Ragbri Association to come back, we have that money set aside to forward onto it. So we're falling short on just a few of these things. That health is not sewer. And to borrow against that sewer, we also have a land. We have the Bells Trust, and I appreciate Rosemary Beach so much for being on that Sartori Foundation for years and having good minutes, because getting creative with how to make interest, we leased out for 15 years a $2 million loan with an economic stimulus to some company, and we were going to get a 7% increase. Now, I want to make sure that that did get funded back to the health account and that there was interest that did follow it, and if not, how much of the sewer account does need to be repaid to that. A very important thing there, because those people are leaving legacies, and we really do need to make sure. We also have services being removed at Sartori. We have a huge liability. When I was...
This time, Ms. Jensen.
Okay. Does anyone want to extend? All right.
Appreciate
Thank you.
it. Thank you. Anyone else for public comment tonight? All right, seeing none, we will close the public forum, and move to staff updates. I believe, Director Shaggy, if you...
Thank you, Mayor. Council, I have two quick updates. First being with the upcoming Earth Week from April 16th through 22nd. The city is partnering with local environmental organizations to host its first ever Earth Fair, and that'll be this Saturday, April 12th from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m., and that'll be at Gateway Park. The event will include a rain barrel workshop, seed planting station, and nature-themed crafts for kids, so I hope you guys can make it to that. Second update is regarding the upcoming holiday on April 18th and refuse collection. If your normal collection day is Friday, April 18th, please place your carts out on Thursday, April 17th for collection.
Thank you, Director. I did have one update from my end as well for the community. So we've been going through a citywide strategic planning process. Previous steps, we went through, collected almost 500 survey responses from community members. I held 3 or 4 focus groups with everything from high school students, young professionals, a mixed group of people from the community to start piecing together for the next 3 to 5 years what are we really prioritizing, what are our big focus areas, and driven by primarily what are we hearing from residents as the key priority areas that we'd really like to see. Obviously, we'll always fix roads, we'll always run sewer, but really wanting to hear what are those things that we want to go above and beyond in the next 3 to 5 years to really focus on. So we sat down as council with all that information, got input from staff as well, and spent a 1 full day hashing out, okay, if we were to refine all that down into just a few focus areas, what are those? So we got it down to 5 focus areas, and still draft format, but so if you go to cedarfalls.com/strategic plan, there's a link to the strategic planning site that has those 5 draft goals. We're now asking for feedback on what do you think of those goals? Do those fit what you're looking for? Right now, they're just high-level buckets that then once we get some more feedback, we'll take that and sit down again and just flesh those out more. Then eventually, us and staff primarily will be plugging things into those to say, okay, over the next 3 to 5 years, what are those strategic projects we're taking on and prioritizing. So if you go, again, cedarfalls.com/strategic plan, there's a link there to the strategic planning site. So we'd love everyone's input. This is early on in the process. We want to get as much input as we can. So appreciate everyone going on there. Otherwise, we will now move to special order of business. So item number 2, public hearing on a proposed third amendment to option and lease agreement with GTP Acquisition Partners 2 LLC relative to a proposed amendment to the Central Park cell tower lease. Do we have a motion to receive and file proof of publication?
Second.
Motion seconded, and all those in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? And motion carries. Madam Clerk, any written communications?
I have no written communications on file, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. And then for staff comments, we got a presentation from, or comments from Director Rodenbeck.
We have a cell tower located in Central Park that we do receive lease income on every year. It's about $40,000 right now. And several months ago, the company came to us, wanted to renegotiate that contract, and they offered us something lower. We came back with, well, if we're going to consider it, this would be what we're asking for. And anyway, after negotiating this, what you have in front of you is an amendment to the lease. Basically, the basic terms, changes in it is the escalation rate that the lease amount increases every year will decrease from 4% to 3%, but they're providing 2 additional 5-year extensions, so we could potentially get 10 more years of revenue. And then they're giving us a $10,000 signing bonus to do that. So what you have before you is that amendment to the lease. I think we all understand you never know how technology is going to change, never know what could happen with a lease. So, but yeah, so it does decrease our revenue a little bit every year, but we could potentially get 10 more years.
Thank you, Director. Any clarifying questions from council?
Mr. Mayor?
Yeah.
I didn't see in there. I apologize if I overlooked it. What's the year on the current sunset of that lease that we are currently in?
Sure. So the longest it can go right now is 2051. So this could increase that out to 2061 because it's for 10 more years.
Okay, perfect. Thanks.
Any other clarifying questions from council? All right, so seeing none, we'll open it up for public comment on this item. It's very exciting. All right, seeing none, we'll close the public hearing and look for a motion, resolution approving and authorizing execution of a third amendment to option and lease agreement with GTP Acquisition Partners 2, LLC, relative to a proposed amendment to the Central Park Cell Tower lease.
So moved.
Second.
Motion seconded, and any discussion from council? All right, seeing none, requires a roll call vote, please.
All members voting aye, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Item number 3, a public hearing on a proposed ordinance amending the boundaries for wards and precincts within the city of Cedar Falls to incorporate recently annexed territory. Do we have a motion to receive and file approved publication?
So moved.
Second.
Motion seconded, and, all those in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Madam Clerk, any written communications?
I have no written communications on file, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. And for staff comments, we've got Shane Graham. Thank you, Shane.
Thank you, Mayor. Quick timeline, back in October 21st, City Council approved the annexation application for about 80 acres adjacent to the West Viking Road Industrial Park. In January 7th, the City Development Board of the State of Iowa did approve the annexation application. And then on February 10th, the City Development Board did file the proceedings with the Secretary of State and the County Recorder. Due to the change now in the boundaries of the city, we must take action now to update the ward and precinct map. This area falls adjacent to Ward 2, Precinct 3. Therefore, we are requesting that City Council approve the ordinance to amend the ward and precinct map.
Thank you. Any clarifying questions from council? All right, seeing none?
I'll ask, how big's the population in there?
That's later in the agenda.
Come on, Gil, stay on topic. All right, none from council. We'll open up the public hearing. Any public comment on this item tonight? Just name, please.
Okay. Kim Jensen Jordan. Just a couple of things. Just wondering, when people move outside the city limits, they move out there so that their taxes are a little bit less. They also get a few more amenities, like they can have a compost site, or they can do burning if they notify the fire department and let the neighbors know. And they don't have to have all the special permits. We're growing, and we're kind of expressing our viewpoints onto them. Just wondering how many people within our city limits right now do not have city sewer or water. And here we're expanding and we're offering those services. And if people want that and just haven't been offered it, but yet have been taxpayers. So drawing a concern to that, but then also let's be mindful of being good neighbors.
Thank you, Mr. Jensen. Any other public comment for this item tonight? All right, seeing none, I'll now close the public hearing and look for a motion to pass an ordinance amending the boundaries for wards and precincts within the city of Cedar Falls to incorporate recently annexed territory upon its first consideration.
So moved. Second.
Motion seconded, and any discussion from council?
So Chris is going to pick up 0 population, I think.
Now,
Two.
listen, we
I think
don't
I
know
can
what's
answer
going to
this. Two.
eventually
Two
be in
people,
that field,
right.
so we don't know.
Not a lot of people live in there. A lot of ag land.
It's gerrymandered.
Any other discussion from council? All right, seeing none requires a roll call vote, please.
All members voting aye, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Motion carries. Item number 4, public hearing to consider entering into a development agreement with Cedar Falls Municipal Utilities relative to the South Cedar Falls Urban Renewal Area. Is there a motion to receive and file approved publication?
So moved. Second.
Motion seconded, and all those in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? That motion carries. Madam Clerk, any written communications?
I have no written communications, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. And then for staff comments again, we have Shane Graham.
Thank you, Mayor. Back in 2018, City Council adopted the South Cedar Falls Urban Renewal Area. Within each of our urban renewal areas, we do have city-identified projects as well as utility, from Cedar Falls utility projects as well. We typically enter into development agreements with CFU in each of our urban renewal areas for utility projects that they are going to undertake within those areas. We haven't had any projects to date yet. However, CFU is planning to move forward with utility extension to the property that we own along Ridgeway and Hudson Road. So with that, we are proposing the development agreement, which then would allow CFU to be reimbursed through TIF for their utility project.
Any clarifying questions? Or Shane? All right, seeing none, thank you, Shane.
Thank you.
And we'll now open the public comment on this item, if anyone from the public would like to speak tonight. All right, seeing none, we will close the public comments and look for a motion, resolution approving and authorizing execution of a development agreement with Cedar Falls Municipal Utilities relative to the South Cedar Falls Urban Renewal Area.
So moved.
Second.
Motion seconded, and any discussion from council? All right, seeing none, requires a roll call vote, please.
All members voting aye, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Item number 5, public hearing on a proposed Cedar Falls Historic Core Urban Revitalization Plan for a proposed urban revitalization area. Do we have a motion to receive and file proof of publication?
So moved.
Second.
Motion seconded, and all those in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? That motion carries. Madam Clerk, any written communications?
I have no written communications on file, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. And again, for staff comments, we have Shane Graham.
You all right?
Welcome back.
Keep saying sorry for walking by them every time. So, on the agenda tonight is the proposed Cedar Falls Historic Core Urban Revitalization Plan. This plan has been developed to help promote development and redevelopment of residential and commercial areas within an area generally bounded by West First Street on the north, Hudson Road on the west, University Avenue on the south, and Highway 58 and the Cedar River on the east. If you remember, City Council did repeal the College Hill Urban Revitalization Plan. This new area will encompass that entire area and then additional areas to the north of that. Again, this plan is intended to encourage development, redevelopment, and revitalization by authorizing property tax development incentives to the private sector. This will provide Cedar Falls with a long-term increase or stabilization in the tax base, which might not have otherwise occurred. In the plan, you'll see that the properties are eligible for a 100% exemption of taxes on the value added by an eligible project for a period of 10 years. And this does not include the school tax levy. That was a recent change by the Iowa legislature. So the school tax levy still gets paid to the schools. So you get 10 years for residential improvements. The only qualifiers, you have to increase your valuation by 10% or more. If you have a commercial property within this area, you're eligible for either a 3-year 100% exemption or a 10-year partial exemption, and the qualifier for commercial property is to increase the valuation by 15% or more. So again, in the packet, you'll see a copy of the proposed plan and a map. We did send out a postcard following all state code requirements for notice. We sent a postcard to, I think, over 2,000 residents, have had some questions, did provide some copies of the map and the plan to interested citizens. So if there's any questions from council, I'll be happy to answer them.
And I was just going to include quick, just for everyone kind of watching and here tonight, some of the background was, as we were doing some of the housing incentives, we also wanted to make sure we were still incentivizing people to invest in our core of the town, not just new developments on the outside of the town. So this was, and not just for big developers, but just someone wanting to reinvest in their home, looking at making a historic renovation, doing something within that historic core. Since a lot of times you have that hollowed out effect of continual growth on the outside of town, then comes at the expense sometimes of the inside of town. So wanting to make sure we're also trying to encourage people to continue investing inside of the core of downtown, which thankfully also, we already have infrastructure there, so lower tax burden on us for new development there.
I do have a question, Mr. Ham. You mentioned the southern border university. The map shows 29th, and I'm curious, there's 3 parcels south of 29th that are excluded. 2 of them are residential and 1 is commercial. Wouldn't that benefit to have them included as well? That's a kind of tiny little area there.
Sure. Yeah, I see. So south of University, we just included the area that was in the former College Hill urban revitalization area.
Right.
So I guess it was just a choice to just follow that existing boundary south of University where the College Hill urban revitalization area was.
Could we add those 3 little parcels there? 2 of them, I looked them up on Beacon, and they're 2 private owned and 1 is a credit union. It covers residential and commercial. I don't know if there's any reason why we wouldn't include those.
Can do. Start over with notices. We're increasing the area, and so doable, definitely, but we have to start the process over.
Okay.
If I can ask clarifying with that, is the map amendable in the future?
It is. Once it's set, it is amendable.
How much of a delay would we have the process? You say notices and map and description, couple weeks, 1 meeting? Or is there anything contingent on getting this done, and then will it hold up anything?
Shane's more familiar with the process.
Yeah, the process takes about a month. I think council set the date of hearing for this about a month ago. If we have to start over, like Mr. Rogers explained, we'll probably have to do the notices again, and that was a pretty big undertaking.
Okay. So if we amend it with that 3 parcels, we just notice the 3 people? The 3 parcel owners?
Would maybe defer to Kevin, but I would assume we would have to notify, whenever you're adding areas or creating new areas, you have to notify the property owners.
I just thought that was kind of odd, and I looked them up, like I say, on Beacon, Snyder, and it would seem like that's an R3 zone currently. So.
Some of that, I don't know the map for sure, but some of that might be, are you just talking those, like right there at that very southern tip?
It's R3. And
some of that might be university property?
No, I looked. 2 are private, and 1 is UNI Credit Union.
Okay.
And right next to it is the Board of Regents. I'm just talking about the private-owned stuff.
Okay.
Since it's private and commercial development, that would fit.
Yep.
So who knows what gets developed there.
Okay. Any other clarifying questions for Shane at the time? All right, seeing none, thank you, Shane. We'll open it up for public comment on this item tonight. Just name, please.
Yes, you. Kim Jensen Jordan. So I'm excited to hear about that, and I have also been looking at the Beacon, Snyder zoning and so forth, and the data that we have. The hospital at 515 is now within these parameters. It does currently have a commercial status for zoning. On February 5th, it was brought to our attention by, developmental Ms. Sheets, that we were at an R3. So that means medium to low density developmental opportunities. It's bouncing around. It was in a land use certificate of protected zoning prior to the R3 and now the commercial. So I'd like to, just say we could easily do something there, but still knowing that we have outside factors like Blackhawk County raising 20% besides our city. So looking at trying to keep in mind the citizens, taxpayers' expenses, protecting and maintaining what we have instead of always looking at big, new, fancy. It's always easy to look through the lens, and I have an old paper that said $55 million could have gotten us a new renovation at 1015 Division Street at the old Cedar Falls High School. So I sure would have been happy paying that extra $55 million as opposed to $100 million and having my taxes continuing to go up and having Blackhawk County also needing to improve. So thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Jason Jordan.
I was also curious, is that going to extend the historic district that we have? Because the Sartori property was an Overman property that was gifted in 1912, 1914. So it would be nice to make sure that that line extended just a little bit as well.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Just answer quick. Do you know, I don't believe it'll change anything with historic district.
No, this is just the boundary for the revitalization area.
Okay. Thank you. Anyone else for a public comment this evening? All right, seeing none, we'll close the public hearing and look for a motion, resolution approving and adopting the Cedar Falls Historic Core Urban Revitalization Plan for a proposed urban revitalization area.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded and open for council discussion. You have a giant smile on your face. So.
I'm just really excited about this.
Well, I think Hannah and I want to know if some of this is retroactive on 12.
Yeah, great question, Gil.
Yeah.
No.
Oh.
Okay, well, we're still for it.
Yes, very excited.
Any other discussion from council?
Mr. Mayor, I would just add it's encouraging that Shane's already received some positive feedback on this from residents. I think that in the past, when we've had these incentive opportunities, we've not necessarily had a lot of responsiveness to them. So at least the initial feedback is good. So hopefully we can see some reinvestment in this area. That's great.
Thank you, Councilor. Any other discussion from council?
Mr. Mayor, if I may, I think I'd had some initial hesitancy about the scope of this, but I've come to the conclusion that it's just a revite area, and with a 3 or 10 year payback, all it's going to do is incentivize growth and maintenance of our downtown area, so there's no real concern in my mind. I just wanted to clarify that since I had voted against it to begin with.
Thank you, Councilor. Any discussion? All right, seeing none, requires a roll call vote, please.
All members voting aye, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. That motion carries. Item number 6, pass an ordinance designating the Cedar Falls Historic Core Urban Revitalization Plan of the City of Cedar Falls, Iowa, upon its first consideration, contingent upon the approval of the previous item.
So moved. Second.
Motion and seconded, and open for council discussion. All right, seeing none, any discussion from the public? Also seeing none, requires a roll call vote, please.
All members voting aye, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. And assuming several people were here for that tonight, thank you all for coming out. So. Item number 7, public, excuse me, public hearing on a proposal to undertake a public improvement project for the Highway 57 and Union Road intersection improvements project and to authorize acquisition of private property for said project.
So moved.
Excuse me, I guess I should have asked. Would anyone like to motion to receive all proof of publication? So, moved and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Madam Clerk, any written communications?
I have no written communications on file, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. And for staff comments for this, we've got Tom Bither. Thank you, Tom.
Thank you, Mayor. Good evening, Mayor and Council. Tonight's public hearing is for the easement acquisitions associated with the Highway 57 and Union Road intersection improvement project. The City of Cedar Falls is planning to rebuild the intersection of Highway 57 and Union Road with a single-lane roundabout. This project will require the acquisition of easements to complete these intersection improvements. Plans for the project show the need for easement acquisitions from approximately 9 properties. These property acquisitions are a result of the new intersection and roadway design, and you can see on the screen the map of each of the properties affected. I would be happy to answer any questions at this time. Thank you.
Thank you, Tom. Are there any clarifying questions from council?
Yeah, Mr. Mayor.
Yep. You get to come back, Tom.
Yeah, you can stay up here. I may be getting a little ahead of myself on the questions of the design, but I've had some inquiries, particularly from farmers that move equipment through that intersection on how that design is going to possibly affect the wider tractors and pulling equipment through there. Do you have any thoughts on that so far, or is that?
I might be able to answer that. So a lot of the need for temporary easement in, I'm going to say, the northeast corner is to maintain traffic north-south in and out of Cedar Falls. So I guess depends on the size of the ag equipment to be able to maneuver through the corridor, but I can venture to guess that it'll be restricted lane widths as you move through there. So.
Okay, and nothing on the end product. What's your thoughts on, I'm kind of getting ahead on, and
post-construction?
Yeah, the final design and the construction of the roundabout.
That shouldn't affect any width requirements, should be as it is today.
Okay. If I may stick with this, with a question for Mr. Schrage on, I will.
Unless someone yells at you, I'll let you run with it.
You and I had a conversation on the phone to Ms. Jensen's, Jordan Jensen's question. I don't know who she had called, but I drove out there and you and I talked on the phone while we discussed the trees and that. Would you explain the trees that were taken out and the trees that were saved?
Sure. So the city purchased the parcel in the northwest corner months back. We were going through a demolition contract for the dwelling unit and the structures, as well as the remaining trees on the property. I believe there was somewhere in the neighborhood of 35 trees that were saved. Those were the hardwood native species that are the good quality ones that we want to continue to grow. So we almost did a timber stand improvement project to where all the invasive undergrowth trees were removed.
Okay, so the trees that we see there now, we're done with removing trees, and that tree line will stay there.
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Counselor. Any other clarifying questions from Council?
Mr. Mayor, if I may, just to Gil's question, those median dividers, are those raised medians? You said that the lane width would remain as is post-construction for tractor width and such. Are there curbing in those medians?
Correct. Those will be raised medians.
Okay.
Yep.
I'm guessing at a later date we'll review that, but we can get some more of the specifications to maybe address some of your questions from people, Gil.
Well, I think Mr. Ganfield may have gotten some of the similar questions, and having a raised median is what they're concerned about, of jumping over where there's others that are more driver-friendly, if you will, to...
And I think you've already clarified, Director Schrage, that the lane width will not be shallower than it is now after construction.
Correct. And those are details we can discuss at a later date, but generally on a higher speed intersection such as this, 45 miles an hour, there's a different type of curb than the traditional straight vertical curb, and it's more of a high speed curb like you'd see on Green Hill Road. So.
Okay. Yeah. So we'll follow up, but just for the sake of the night, we'll keep it moving.
Don't want any cement trucks tipping over in the roundabout.
That would be good, Mr. Mayor. Yep.
Just to the point, tractors with duals will commonly drive on the shoulder. So going through there, if you have the same width of the travel portion, it's the shoulder with the tractor is going to run into an issue. And if the curbing is different, that's accommodating.
Actually, Director, if it's okay, since we're just doing the easements tonight,
okay, sorry.
We'll follow up on this when we get to we're that stage.
That's fine.
Okay. Thank you, guys. Any other clarifying questions on the easement side?
No. Duly noted.
All right. Thank you, Tom. And open it up for public comment as well. Just name, please.
Kim Jensen, Jordan. If we could pull that photo back up onto the screen of the site. Previous background, 25, 27 years landscaping. I consider myself pretty green, and I know what northwest winds do. And I know how much our ag people value any type of windbreak, whether it's native species or understory brush. We also have wildlife that needs to be sheltered, and we're removing a lot of the shelter belt. So we're potentially opening up for more accidental hits and insurance claims. The way I'm reading the design as well, we have those medians. I don't know if we need those. It seems like we're swaling it a little bit more to the southwest corner, which we've got a lot of electrical right in there. Why do we even need to do this project when we had a yellow flashing light? I know we received a $550,000 federal grant, which we would have to give back. But how much of that has already gone to the removal cost of that? Because they were out there for many, many days.
If I may, just
Yeah.
Jordan, we did discuss the need for the project at a previous meeting, so this is really just for the easement acquisition.
Yeah.
So we can't really go back and rehash the same
it's-
previous conversation. So if you have something for the easements, we can discuss that.
Correct, but it's still, it is an emergency access point besides the and we've seemed to just kind of ignore that, even in the previous meetings. Light access controls create less of a problem because they don't have to worry about if someone's interpreting if they should stop in a roundabout or not, if there's emergency transfers coming through. That's still an
Jensen, Jordan,
easement.
we did already discuss the need for that previous
All
meeting.
right.
So if there's anything to the easements, we can discuss that this evening.
Let's see, project extensions, whatever. I think we're also building this, so that would be an easement issue. We have a problem at Green Hill and 58. We don't seem to think large enough at first, and we do have a project that's an expansion on Union Road from 2026 until 2029 for widening. So if we're going to be having to redo something and make it 2-lane instead of a single lane and have more easement, I think it would be prudent and less costly to the taxpayers again to go big instead of redo.
Thank you, Ms. Jensen, Jordan. Anyone else for public comment on this item? Yep. Just name and address, please.
My name is Sam Runyon, 4010 West First Street. I'm on the southeast corner of this intersection. If I've heard you right, you just said that no one can get up here and dispute or question the reason this is going in?
For the roundabout itself?
Yeah.
So we had a previous meeting where we approved the project as a whole, which is where we discussed the need for the project.
Okay, well, that's good to know because I live there, and to my knowledge, no one ever consulted with me or asked me or told me about a meeting. So I'm here to discuss, to say why I'm all about roundabouts. I love roundabouts. But
So please go ahead.
I'm someone like Darrell Cruz, who said he liked roundabouts. He just didn't want them outside of his driveway. Well, that one's outside of my driveway. But if we're not here to discuss that, I guess
Now, if you didn't get a
it's
chance
a done deal, right?
come to the previous meeting, please go ahead.
Okay, thank you.
No, you can speak if you'd like to, Mr. Runyon.
Mr. Mayor, just a point of clarification for me. I'm reading this public hearing as the approval of the necessity of the project as well as the acquisition of the easements. Is that incorrect?
Actually, I might have been miscorrected. I thought we were addressing, yes, Mr. Runyon and Ms. Jensen Jordan, that's my fault. I thought we were just addressing the easement, so we are addressing the overall project. So, yes, please. Thank you for catching that.
I didn't mean to be hard to get along with.
No, not at all.
Okay, I've been there at that intersection since 1971, longer than a lot of you folks have been alive. So I'm very familiar with that intersection. I don't have any stats that I can recite to tell you how many accidents we've had at that intersection. I know the last one, I think, that caused all of this was one that happened last year. Other than that, unless unless Mr. Birdie or someone, or maybe the DOT, has got stats telling me why that is that dangerous of a corner, which you've already corrected the issue. You've got flashing red lights on the stop signs, and you cleared that corner that you just paid $420,000 for. Last year, I reached an agreement with the city, gave them an easement, and they cleaned up my corner because they said it was a sight restrictor. Well, that one was even worse. I'm saying you could have done that instead of spending $420,000 and buying that corner. I just think That's a lot of taxpayer money to be spent, where I think at this point, the problem's already been solved. You've got the flashing lights, and the speed limit is not 45 there, it's 50. It turns 50 just as you get past Lakeview, and it's 50 going down. That should be 45 all the way out west of Union Road. There, I said my thing. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Runyon. And Ms. Jensen Jordan, too, I'll give you a minute if you want to maybe take 2 minutes, since I kind of cut you off on that part.
Very concerned about the access point coming in from Parkersburg, New Hartford, Ackley. They were in last night at 7:47 coming into Cedar Falls. It's an off time, but if it's high school time, we're going to have a problem. We definitely have time to wait and see if maybe it can be an overpass. I like the idea of a light system there. It's so much easier to control, and we need pause in and out. We need to think about the ag. We are rural, and we need to be kind and think about long-term instead of throwing all this money into these roundabouts. We also are concerned, as I've been reading through, it's possible that we have a University Avenue and Hudson Road culvert delay and repair this year, which would also stop a point of entrance in if Parkersburg, New Hartford would have to travel down, let's say a gravel road, or come in 20, making it more difficult for them to get to Sartori. We have a life pad at Sartori. Anyone with an emergency or stroke, we can get them somewhere very quickly from that 515 College Street, and we need to access and utilize that as well. And then I'm just curious, is this forcing us as a city whole to be going forward with the Ulrich sewer lift treatment, which can we pull that back as well? Are we getting ahead of ourselves with that? I don't see the need to do that at this point, especially when I'm up in the Royal Oaks area and we've just waited through. We took 3 years to do, I think it was around $5 to $6 million project, and we still have some issues with grass seeding and things. And I had spoken to PCI, and we're actually lifting sewage uphill, where they did suggest that it would be less costly to our city to put it back in the ravine. We wouldn't have to go with the overage on the landscaping and the over-the-top fancy that's up there. All right, thank you.
Thank you. Any other public comment for this item tonight? Just name for the record, please.
Todd Draper. So this whole roundabout, if it moves forward, is for safety. I get that. The flashing lights, they were an improvement. But if we're going to move forward, then one of the biggest safety issues there is nobody obeys that speed limit there. So if we're going to put this roundabout in, why don't we put it immediately after, instead of being 45, where they're doing 55 and 65. I've actually clocked one going past my house at 55. Immediately after that roundabout, set it to 35 miles an hour. And then cops could sit there and tag it, and it would greatly improve what you're planning on doing. Plus, it'll let everybody know, hey, we're gonna enforce this because this is a safety issue. And not for this roundabout, but I've seen other roundabouts where they don't wait. They know that if they're gonna wait, they're gonna sit there forever. So what they do? They speed up, especially over on Green Hill or on Viking Road. I can't tell you how many times I almost got clipped because they wanted to get ahead of us and they just gunned it right through that roundabout. So if you're gonna move forward with the roundabout on Union, I ask that immediately after that, the speed limit goes down considerably. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. How do I say your last name?
Graper.
Graper? Yep. Thank you, Mr. Graper. All right, anyone else for a public comment on this item tonight? Just name, please.
I got no problem with my address. Rick Sharp, Cedar Falls. So much for being non-controversial. So I love the roundabout. Love them, love them, love them. I wish that the city would have put one at Round and University. But I agree with the previous speaker. Yeah, on the city side, make that 35 both ways. So if they're coming out of the circle, you know, they're already slowing down to get there. Paramedics coming from Appleton, Parkersburg, all EMS, we can handle those roundabouts. We've done it before when they're there. So they're going to slow down and get there. That's not going to impact any arrival times on that. Been a firefighter for too long back in the day, and there were a couple fatalities that I was attended to at that intersection there. So I'm just saying this is a good step in improvement. I'm looking forward to seeing more roundabouts. I'm getting kind of spoiled at them. So when I drive to Waterloo, I get really irritated at stoplights now. But yeah, I agree with like slowing it down because you already come out of the circle and you no need to gun it back up to 55 or 40 and stuff. So thanks.
Thank you, Mr. Sharp. All right, anyone else for public comment on this item tonight? All right, seeing none, we'll close the public hearing.
Mr. Mayor, just one point of clarification.
Yeah.
So this is a joint project with the City of Cedar Falls and the Iowa DOT. The Iowa DOT ultimately does have the jurisdiction on setting the roundabout or setting the speed limit. So we'll work closely with them, but ultimately it is their decision.
We do have the district engineer here from the DOT and the design consultant. So.
Okay, perfect, good to know. One sec, we'll bring it
Are they
back.
hiding
around.
out?
Yeah, where are they hiding at?
Why did you tell them? So any other, well, I guess we're going to close the public hearing. So do we have a motion to approve resolution approving a public improvement project for the Highway 57 and Union Road intersection improvements project and authorizing acquisition of private property for said project?
So moved. Second.
Motion second and open for council discussion. And as Director Schrage mentioned, we do have some of the DOT team here. Have any questions for him?
I'd like to clarify something. Mr. Schrage, did you say that part of the easement acquisition would be temporary for maintenance of a roadway from Parkersburg?
All the easements we need are temporary. We're not purchasing any permanent or fee title acquisition, but a majority of what you see, the wider easement in the northeast corner is due to providing, keeping the intersection open during construction.
So that ambulances and such could still get
Correct.
through that intersection? Or all traffic, or is it emergency?
So the proposed plan right now is east-west traffic on Highway 57 will remain open in both directions. Same as north-south traffic going north of the intersection, south of the intersection would be closed during construction. So all access in and out of Cedar Falls would remain.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, Mr. Mayor. Thank you. Chase, thanks for the clarification on the EMS stuff, because I've asked you similar questions. So good to hear that. Really, I don't see a response time delay here based on being able to keep that interchange open. So that's great. To Mr. Gaines or Mr. Schrage, I guess I don't know either one. The comment on the DOT really kind of giving the recommendation and then setting that speed limit, I understand that. At what point does the city have jurisdiction within that road, or is it the duration of Highway 57 there?
That's Highway 57 all the way through Cedar Falls.
All the way through town. So we don't have any, we can make a recommendation, but ultimately we are not the we can make a recommendation, but we don't have the authority to change said speed limit, correct?
Correct. We work very closely with the DOT on a number of items that go through there. So I'm assuming that what's going to happen is I've been involved in the design process, so Chase can step in here. But for the most part, when you do a project like this, you have a design speed that you set that for. And then after, usually a year or so afterwards, you do a speed study just to determine what the speed limit will be.
You answered my next question. Thank you.
Thank you, guys. Thank you, Counselor. Any other?
Yeah, Mr. Mayor.
Did you have something?
I was just, you kind of answered it. I know through that corridor, and then when you exit the city over the bridge, there's been discussions by a number of people about moving the signs. And there was one when you go west out of town, moving the sign as well. That's all DOT decided. And they do these, yeah, so, okay.
Mr. Humple, if you feel free to jump in whenever you need to.
He's hiding back
He's
there.
hiding
Okay.
outside.
Oh.
Were you hoping you'd get called in?
Well, it was a full house here earlier, so I had to sit out back. But yeah, so Nick Humple, I'm the district engineer, so Mayor Council, thanks for having me. Chase for bringing me in. Absolutely, so we can kind of work through some of the speeding issues, concerns kind of afterwards. as Ron had mentioned, we kind of want the roundabout to be built, kind of let things kind of shake out to see how traffic will adjust to it. And then we can certainly do another speed study or take a closer look at that. So, yeah.
Do you want to speak to any of the curb design as well that we can look at?
Yeah, so Chase mentioned it. With a 45-mile-an-hour speed limit today, we would design that for more of a sloped curb and not a standard 6-inch height curb. So it does give a little more flexibility. Also, generally on a roundabout, you don't put a curb on the outside of it, so that gives a little more room for the larger ag equipment to get through. But it would be designed in a fashion to allow for ag equipment to get through as well. I'd just maybe touch on one other comment I think someone had mentioned about building it for maybe a 2-lane today. There's a lot of stuff will tell you to be cautious about doing that because an over-designed roundabout can actually cause more problems. So you want to design it today for the traffic, certainly with an ability to maybe expand in the future. And I think that'd be another conversation that we could have to see if there's a significant amount of growth that we'd need to consider a 2-lane in the future.
Okay.
Yeah, go
Part of my ward is along the First Street there. I've had several questions about moving where the speed limits transition higher as you leave to the west. How much give and take does the DOT have on that, or how do you say, right here we're going to start 45, and right here we're going to...
So we generally do a speed study. So we have a person that is certified to kind of come out. He monitors the traffic for a day, essentially.
Multiple points.
Multiple points throughout the corridor. Kind of looks at it as a whole, not just a specific location to then address it. There is some flexibility within a little bit of a range to make that accommodation. We'll look at also the kind of crashes, general operations, additional development in the area to see if other things have changed, that maybe there's a need to slow things down. But we rely pretty heavily on the study and then kind of the crash data to help us maybe set those limits.
The particular one I'm thinking of, they wanted to speed up faster when they were leaving town, and I thought that's kind of not likely.
It all depends. I guess it kind of,
It wouldn't justify a speed study just for a couple comments like that, I wouldn't think.
And we do that with a request through the city. So if Ron or Chase wanted to come to us and say, you know what, we absolutely want to do this, we would take a look at it. It's kind of the process there.
Is there a cost to the city for the DOT to do it, or do you bite the bullet on that whole thing?
Yeah, we just do the speed study on our own.
Well, thank you.
Very relevant for a budget night.
Just numbers are my thing.
Thank you, Counselor.
I have a question. So,
one sec, Counselor Buchanan, just to see, because I've only been looking this direction. I should probably see if anybody this way wants to.
Yeah, Councilman Schultz can go ahead and ask a question for now.
Really quickly. I have to give him that authority. You can't do that.
If you choose, you can.
You know what? I choose. Go ahead, Gil.
I believe it's Independence Avenue east of Waterloo has a roundabout on it. Is that design similar to what you anticipate, or are you familiar with that roundabout?
I am not familiar with that one, I guess.
Mr. Runyon and Mr. Fairbanks kind of, that seems more ag friendly. Yeah. And 1 lane. Yep. Okay.
Counselor?
Yeah, my sentiment was just going to be to inform the public. So thank you, Mr. Mayor. Appreciate you, sir. When we put in roundabouts, in some cases, it's kind of the way to force public behavior. I know on 12th Street out by the park, we had talked about reducing the speed limit, but there's engineering standards against moving the speed limit nebulously. In this instance, hopefully people will slow down to enter the roundabout, and it'll just be a way to shape public behaviors. If they don't slow down and enter the roundabout, they'll crash into whatever decorative item is in the median, which is not a good thing either. But I would wonder if there's a possibility, I guess since you are here, could we ask for that after construction study to be done maybe at 6 months time window instead of 12 months?
I guess I would encourage it to give it a little bit of time. I mean, I think 6 months is probably a little too quick. Give it kind of a year to let things shake out. We kind of have the same conversation. We come in with a construction project. The first 2 to 3 weeks, it's going to be mad chaos for everybody until everybody adjusts to the new patterns. Same type of thing with the before and after comparison.
Okay. So I do think it will have the intention of increasing safety. And to Mr. Sharp's point, I mean, there's some issues with visibility at that intersection. To Mr. Runyon's point, that has been somewhat improved. But I do think for the longevity and the safety of the corridor, this would be a better improvement. So I think we would move forward as intended.
Thank you, Counselor. Any other questions, comments from Council? Thank you for coming in for it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, seeing none, requires a roll call vote, please.
This one's a good one.
All members voting aye, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. That motion carries. Item number 8, public hearing on the proposed plan, specifications, form of contract, and estimate of cost for the West 23rd Street reconstruction from Hudson Road to Campus Street project. Do we have a motion to receive and file proof publication?
So moved.
Second.
Motion seconded, and all those in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Madam Clerk, any written communications?
I have no written communications, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. And for staff comments, we've got Ben Claypool. Thank you, Ben.
Thank you, Mayor, Council. Tonight's public hearing is on the West 23rd Street reconstruction project from Hudson Road through Campus Street. The plan for this project includes a handful of items, but primarily it's the reconstruction of 23rd Street from Hudson Road through Campus Street with the addition of an 8-foot wide median between Hudson Road and the UNI student health parking lot. The new pavement will be 8 inches thick, concrete with colored concrete sidewalk or crosswalks. The reconstruction will also include 6-inch subdrain, storm sewer intakes, storm sewer manholes, and painted pavement markings. Additional corridor improvements include the reconstruction of sidewalks, new landscaping features, new street and pedestrian lights, new signage and monument features, and a retaining wall on the north side of 23rd Street between Indiana Street and Campbell Hall. That's to the student parking lots there. The student health parking lot on the south side will also be reconstructed and reconfigured as a result of the crosswalk and pedestrian route reconstruction to improve access to Campbell Hall and the Student Health Center. The total estimated cost for the construction of this project is just over $2.6 million. The project will be primarily funded with local option sales tax, street construction fund, and special assessment. The engineering division of the Public Works Department recommends approving the plans, specs, and estimate of cost and quantities for the 23rd Street reconstruction project from Hudson Road through Campus Street.
Thank you, Dr. Claypool. Any clarifying questions from council at this time? All right, thank you again.
Thanks.
All right, and we'll now open the public comment if anyone from the public would like to speak on this item tonight. Just name, please.
Kim Jensen Jordan. I did pull up the packet. I looked at the drawing, wondering if we could scale back and not do the median and maybe have 2 turn lanes. I don't know if that would save some money. I don't know if we could peel back some of the extra stuff that's going on there. But again, there's 2.6 million, and it's a very small stretch of road, and it's linked in with the college. It would finish that section, but there's other roads too that we do need, and we're already being taxed quite a bit. So just looking at the design, I don't know if that's something that can be done, but there's always going to be a need for cars to get out of town and travel south if they're at that intersection.
Thank you, Ms. Jensen Jordan. Anyone else for public comment on this item tonight? All right, seeing
Mr.
none.
Mayor, just for some clarification.
Yeah.
This is a city-owned roadway that the city actually will need to reconstruct, and we've been working with a consultant and the University of Northern Iowa to reconstruct this over the past couple of years to come up with the design. Half of that cost will be borne through special assessment to the state of Iowa, so that 2.6 is really only 1.3 to the city.
Okay, so it's a 50-50 cost share.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. So, seeing no more public comment, we'll now close the public hearing. Look for motion, resolution approving and adopting the plan, specifications, form of contract, and estimate of cost for the West 23rd Street reconstruction from Hudson Road to Campus Street project.
So moved.
Second.
Motion seconded, and any discussion from council? All right, seeing none, requires a roll call vote, please.
All members voting aye, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. That motion carries. We'll now move to old business. Item number 9, pass ordinance number 3098, vacating a portion of Campus Street right-of-way south of West 23rd Street upon its second consideration. Do a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
Motion seconded, and any discussion from council? All right, seeing none, any from the public? All right, also seeing none, requires a roll call vote, please.
All members voting aye, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. That motion carries. Item number 10, pass ordinance number 3099, amending Chapter 2, Administration of the Code of Ordinances relative to Police Division, Acting Chief in absence of the Police Chief, and Fire Division, Acting Chief in absence of the Fire Chief, upon its second consideration.
So
motion
Second.
approved. Motion seconded. Any discussion from council? And any from the public? All right, seeing none, requires a roll call vote, please.
All members voting aye, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. The motion carries. Item number 11, pass ordinance number 3100, amending Chapter 13, Licenses and Business Regulations of the Code of Ordinances relative to sales prohibited on public property, exemptions, application for license, and insurance relative to mobile merchants upon its second consideration.
So
Motion to approve?
Second.
Motion second. Any discussion from council? And seeing none, any from the public? Also seeing none, requires a roll call.
Mr. Mayor, you've got somebody in back.
Yeah, can you come up to the podium? Just so people online can hear you.
Is that going to affect the farmer's market and how all that's going to work?
I don't believe so. I can't remember the exact change, but I don't believe it had any impact on crowd image. Thank you. Any other discussion from the public? All right, seeing none, requires a roll call vote, please.
All members voting aye, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Item number 12, pass ordinance number 3101, amending Chapter 17, Parks and Recreation of the Code of Ordinances relative to definitions, penalty for a violation of article, no tree or shrub planting, trimming, or other similar work in public spaces, tree trimmer's license, exemptions from license and permit requirements, temporary cutoff of electricity for purpose of pruning or removal, fastening wires, wire, etc., deposit or storage of materials, impeding passage of water and air to roots, protection during building operations, tree and shrub damage, trees and shrubs overhanging street or sidewalk, diseased or infected trees declared nuisance, maintenance of infected trees prohibited, failure to destroy infected trees or wood, destruction by city, noxious weeds prohibited, exceptions and failure to destroy noxious weeds, right to hearing, destruction by city upon its second consideration. Motion to approve.
So moved.
Second.
Can you repeat that?
It's in the, you can watch the video.
What was that middle part again?
Yeah, well,
Something about noxious weeds. Any discussion from council?
The smirk on Attorney Rogers' face as you read that is priceless.
It's becoming a hobby for him. Seeing none from council, any from the public? Just name, please.
Kim Jensen, Jordan. We just had a condo association meeting. We have a waterway that is full of both thistles. Evelyn Truax has called repeatedly, gets no action. I guess I'm going to have to call when a couple of us decide to get in there and pull some weeds and do some removal. It has poison ivy. I didn't send you guys a bill last year, and I didn't charge you to haul the brush away, but you're welcome.
Just to check, is that, I don't know, which neighborhood's it in?
Royal Oaks. It's coming off of First Street Bike Trail, and then it travels in towards the ravine.
Question.
Yeah.
Mr. Mayor, if I could, go ahead. You're talking the condo association property?
Correct, yes.
So that's not city property?
It is. There was
I
city.
spoke with director, okay.
Okay.
We can discuss it later, but
Okay.
that's condo responsibility is my understanding.
It is, okay. Then.
We'll
We
make sure
can
and
we can
follow.
clarify that, but
Okay, yeah, because I know there were some trees that were removed in there that, yeah,
that
okay.
had a different
Thank you.
purpose.
Okay, we'll make sure and follow up. Thanks, Counselor. Any other discussion from the public? Seeing none, requires a roll call vote, please.
All members voting aye, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Item number 13, pass ordinance number 3102, amending Chapter 19, Streets and Sidewalks of the Code of Ordinances relative to definitions, plantings by property owners or parties in possession, duty to maintain street side area, assessment, damage by city to plantings or obstructions in the street side area, warnings and barriers, storage of building materials, certain commercial use of public sidewalks, duty of abutting property owner to repair defective sidewalk, and standards for numbers upon its second consideration. Motion to approve?
So move.
Second.
Motion and seconded. Any discussion from council? Seeing none, any from the public? Also seeing none, requires a roll call vote, please.
All members voting aye, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Item 14, pass ordinance number 3103, amending Chapter 19, Streets and Sidewalks of the Code of Ordinances relative to use of public sidewalks or sidewalk cafes, operation of sidewalk cafes, application for sidewalk cafe permit, and insurance requirements upon its second consideration. Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion and seconded. And any discussion from council? Seeing none, any from the public? Also seeing none, requires a roll call vote, please.
All members voting aye, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Item 15, pass ordinance number 3104, amending Chapter 19, Streets and Sidewalks of the Code of Ordinances relative to contractors' bond, insurance and contractors' bond, insurance upon its second consideration. Motion to approve?
So moved. Second.
Motion seconded. Any discussion from council? Seeing none, any from the public? Just name, please.
Okay, Kim Jensen, Jordan. Not sure if this would pertain to what's going on in First Street and Hudson Road. With this, we have a bike trail right there, and there's going to be a drive-up window. So it's potential, there is a little bit of a, I know they've gone through a lot of expenses on that, and it did not really have to go through planning and zoning, and I feel horrible that the property owner has had to endure as much cost to that whole project as he has, but that is kind of a concern that we have a drive-up that's right there that potentially could go onto that bike trail, and the city didn't have anything to do with the planning and zoning on that, or approved it to go through.
Thank you, Mr. Jensen, Jordan. We'll follow up on that with you. Any other public comment on this item tonight? All right, seeing none, requires a roll call vote, please.
All members voting aye, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. That motion carries. Second here. All right, item number 16, pass ordinance number 3105, amending Chapter 23, Traffic and Motor Vehicles of the Code of Ordinances relative to definitions, electric personal assistive mobility devices, control of vehicle, reduced speed, use of sidewalks, pedestrian use of a roadway, solicitation of rides, riding on sidewalk prohibited in specified locations, traffic control signal legend, pedestrian conveyances and bicycles prohibited from use on certain city property, and pedestrian conveyances and bicycles must yield to pedestrians afoot, priority upon its second consideration.
So moved.
Second.
Motion approved and seconded. Any discussion from council? All right, seeing none, any from the public? Just name, please.
Rick Sharp. As a sidebar, I do support that first-time speakers, you ask for actually their address too. It actually vets that they are Cedar Falls residents, just versus randomly saying, oh, I'm from Cedar Falls. And then, like what we're doing now, Mr. Mayor. So I'm glad this is second reading. I was unavailable for the first reading, but I do have a question about the interpretation of, clear down to section 23.747, traffic control signal legend, section B1. And it says a steady circular red light means vehicular traffic shall stop. Vehicular traffic shall remain standing until a signal to proceed is shown, or vehicular traffic, and they talked about right turns, left turns, blah, blah, blah. The sentence I have an issue with is the last one. It says pedestrian and Bicycle traffic facing a steady red circular red light shall not enter the roadway unless they can safely cross the roadway without interfering with any vehicular traffic. So to me, I'm interpreting that to mean that bicyclists no longer have to follow the rules of the road. If it's a red light, and as long as they come to a stop, it's like, hey, okay, nobody's coming. We get to go through. I hope that wasn't the intent. I think because as much as they want to be part of the rules on the road, they should follow the entire road. And if it's a red light, they stay at the red light until it turns green. Otherwise, I'd like to have that luxury for my car because I get stuck at red lights and no cross traffic, and I still have to sit through that light. But I'm just kind of curious why that was made there, if they are truly excluded, or is that just an oversight for that? I have no problems with pedestrians, obviously, taking their own thing there, but I think bicyclists have to sit through that entire red light like the rest of us. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Sharp.
Mr. Sharp, was that the last section that you were just referencing? Sorry, I missed your number.
Yeah, it's yeah, like page, whatever, section 23-747, traffic control signal legend. I don't know, item
16162?
B1.
Thank you.
And then, yeah, it's just that whole paragraph of that very last sentence, because you did add, and bicycle in red, and then you crossed out unless, it used to say unless the pedestrian crossed out, pedestrian made it, they can cross safely. So I get the other ones, 2, 3, and 4, where you add bicycle, because it just says that everybody has to use extreme caution, but I don't know if that was the intent to allow bicyclists to legally not sit through an entire red light like the rest of us. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Sharp. Attorney Rogers, can you speak to that at all? Give you a minute to review. Excuse me.
I think the section referred to as pedestrian and bicycle traffic facing a steady circular red light shall not enter the roadway unless they can safely cross. Is that what you're talking about?
Yes, sir.
So that's not meaning that they're going to ride their bike across. They can walk their bike across and not ride through it as long as they're not interfering with vehicular traffic.
Can we make that a little bit more clear, though? I'm riding a bicycle, but I'm not sure if that means that I can't go stop. I can go.
We're appointing bicyclists in order to do that.
All right, hold on. Well, thanks, everyone. Any discussion from council, thoughts on wanting to clarify? Attorney Rogers, looks like you're still noodling on it.
Yeah, I'll take a look at it.
Yeah, I think we need to clarify it. If that's the intent, is there to walk it across? It's not really the way it's reading.
Yeah, I'll have a look.
Want to table it?
Read it in context with the entire ordinance, and then I'll come back and I'll give you a recommendation.
Would you have a preference on, just wants to table this at this point? And
well, if this is
because we'll have to redo the process anyway,
right.
If you change it.
If
So
we change, we'll start over anyway. So
we're going to pass a vote on a second consideration.
right, and then if I recommend a change, then we'll change and go back to the first one
Okay.
anyway.
Okay.
See what I'm saying? Or it could be okay. I need to study a little bit.
Yep. So look for probably a motion to table this. And
That's not what I just heard.
sorry.
That's not what I said.
Okay. Sorry.
It's the second reading.
So you just want us to go ahead with the second reading. Okay.
Right.
Misinterpreted that. All right. So we've got the motion on the table to move forward with the second reading. Any other discussion from council? With obviously we'll have Attorney Rogers bring back some feedback on it. All right, seeing none, requires a roll call vote, please.
Six voting aye, one voting nay, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. That motion carries, and we'll make sure and get that feedback to you guys. Thank you, guys. So we'll now move to the consent calendar. The following items will be acted upon by a voice vote on a single motion without separate discussion unless someone from council or public requests that a specific item be considered separately. Are there any requests from council to consider items separately? Seeing none, any from the public? We're still on the consent calendar, so we'll do the resolution calendar next. I'll remember to get to you, though. Any others for the consent calendar from the public? All right, seeing none, look for, let's see, item 20. All right, any others from the public? All right, seeing none, look for a motion to approve items 17 through 21 of the consent calendar, excluding item number 20.
So moved.
Second.
Motion seconded, and any discussion from council? Or, we're on this one. So all those in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. We'll move to item number 20. We'll look for a motion to approve and follow recommendations of the mayor relative to the appointment of members to the boards and commissions for Michael Mankey, Jim O'Laughlin, and Lindy Rolfs, of the Historic Preservation Committee.
So moved. Second.
Motion seconded, and any discussion from council?
Mr. Mayor?
Yep.
I'd like to say thank you to Michael, Jim, and Lindy for volunteering their time to be on the Historic Preservation Commission. They've been doing a lot of great work and got a lot of great work ahead, so thank you for volunteering, I believe, again, for all of them.
Thank you, Counselor. Any discussion from council? Otherwise, any from the public? Just name, please. Thanks, Kim.
Jensen Jordan. I also would like to thank them for serving and volunteering on that commission. I had a chance to attend their meeting, and they were kind enough to allow me time to talk. And I thought that was I was gracious for that. I did express to them that it is nice to put things into historic preservation. I understand that not all the time do things stay in there. Like the broom factory, we have lost that. We also lost the Uhl Stone Barn on University Avenue.
Mr. Mayor.
And that was.
Is this relevant to the approval of these folks?
True.
I would say part of it is I did ask the historic preservation 3 different times to go ahead and maybe start the process of historic preservation of Sartori Hospital.
Again, if this can only be specific to the appointments of the
Okay,
positions.
no, okay, thank you. I was very appreciative of them, and they are doing a great job.
Thank you. Anyone else for public comment on this tonight? All right, seeing none, any other discussion from council? That requires a voice vote, so all those in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Now move to the resolution calendar. So we'll look to approve the following items, act upon by a roll call vote on a single motion without separate discussion unless someone from the council or public requests that an item be considered separately. Any requests from council?
25.
25. Any others from council? Seeing none, and any from the public? Mr. Fairbanks?
37, 38.
37, 38, and 24.
I didn't hear, what was that one?
24. What was that? 28. Any other from the public? All right, seeing none, I'll look for a motion to approve items 22 through 38 of the resolution calendar, excluding items 24, 25, 28, 37, and 38.
So moved.
Second.
Motion seconded, and requires a roll call vote, please.
All members voting aye, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. We'll now move to item number 24, resolution approving and adopting a job classification for the position of Human Resources Specialist. We have a motion to approve.
So move.
Second.
Motion seconded, and any discussion from council? I see none. Any from the public? Just name and address, please.
Good evening. My name is TW. I'm the chair of the Cedar Falls Human Rights Commission. I wanted to speak on this because this is replacing the former DEI specialist position that was held by Chelsea Luring. It's not your guys' choice, obviously, but being forced to change the name of the position from DEI coordinator by the state because of language use that politicians have decided they don't like the use of that language is unfortunate. DEI just simply stands for diversity, equity, and inclusion. Diversity, I've seen enough people who look like me, and I don't want more people who look like me. Equity, everybody wants to be treated equitably, and as the chair of the Human Rights Commission, I just want to be able to, anytime I close my eyes, talk to any person in the city and say that you're welcome here. That's the only point. As my time as chair of the Human Rights Commission, and I invite every person in this room. Our next meeting is Monday at 6 o'clock at the Public Safety Building. So I want everybody there. That'd be great. And inclusion, Again, all we do is if we see somebody who's not welcome, who is not invited to a group or to, if a group, you go back to school days, if somebody's not invited to play dodgeball, you look over and you ask them to play. To me, that's what DEI is. It's not a dirty word. And also being a NASCAR fan, DEI is Dale Earnhardt Incorporated. So that's, it's kind of a little offhand there. But I just wanted to voice my displeasure with a city or a smaller group being forced to change language and forced to change what they do with their money by the state because of language that that politicians have decided they don't like. We are looking forward to having a new liaison. Bailey has been doing a wonderful job, just like she did before Chelsea was here. But we are looking to have looking forward to having that liaison. So again, I invite everybody to come. We want you guys there as well. Second Monday of the month at 6 o'clock at the Public Safety Building. Thanks, guys.
Thank you, Mr. Ingham. Any other public comments on this item tonight? All right, seeing none, I'll bring it back to council for any discussion.
Mr. Mayor?
Yeah.
If I may, I just wanted to clarify, I think human resource specialist position was pre-existing. This isn't actually changing or removing the title from the other position that we had. So I think this is adding in some job duties, but I didn't see that as a removal forced by any other entity. I just want to make sure I clarified my understanding on that if that was incorrect. This one's just adding in and adjusting some of the roles of the job, but it's not removing the other job, correct?
So it is kind of combining a few of the roles. So we've always had for a long time, we had a part-time HR specialist role that was unfilled, allocated. Chelsea did have an opportunity with a new position, so she moved on, got her master's degree, was so able to take a job in the field she was looking to go into. And so this was a chance for us to take some of the roles that Chelsea had been fulfilling and also take some of the HR responsibilities we had with that other position and kind of bring them together into one. I do know that was part, though, the email we sent out to everybody, that we are still fully committed to the work that Chelsea's position was doing. We do still have a lot of work supporting the HRC, the work that the organization does, and as well for our staff. Because Chelsea did kind of a wide array of work within the city, working on compliance, being the liaison to the HRC, and so I've got a lot that this position. It will still continue to be a full-time position with this. So thank you for checking on that. Any other discussion from council? All right, seeing none, requires a roll call vote, please.
All members voting aye, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Item number 25, look for a motion and resolution approving and authorizing execution of an amendment to advertising agreement renewal relative to recruiting with Lee Enterprises Incorporated, DBA Career Communications.
So moved.
Second.
Motion seconded and opens. Councilmember Granfield.
Mr. Mayor, I just wanted to double check and see the actual numbers that we're getting on return. Have we heard from new hires that they're referencing the Courier ads as how they heard about the city? I'm curious on numbers and their performance.
We actually have Bailey here. She's just in the other room. I think I see her peeking in. There you go.
Hi, Bailey.
Hello, Mayor and Council. We haven't heard from actually applicants, but we have seen an increase in our candidate pool that we are getting for positions. In the past year, we've struggled. This year, we're really noticing that our pools are getting bigger for most positions. And this isn't specific to just the Courier. They also push it out to job boards, to the most used sites in the Cedar Valley. They're pushing out our ads to different advertising sources as well.
So this includes their digital platform?
Correct.
Okay.
And just for clarification, so this agreement was already done. This is just an amendment to one of the services that we're no longer using. We're reallocating those monies towards other services we have in place.
Sure. And Ms. Schendel, I appreciate that. I think my concern is if we're not getting the AMPID section of that original contract, we don't need to add in the other services, increasing their allotments if we're not getting return on those anyway. So that was kind of my intention was, it's only $250, but why are we upping business if we have no proof that it's actually delivering on its promises or
Right.
increasing business? So
The AMP ID was a new service we did want to try out this year, and it just didn't work out contractually. So these other services to work in that new service, we did kind of pull back on them. So this is just kind of putting those monies back into place up to the previous levels that they were at, had we not gone forward with the AMP ID.
And to check if I can with your question, because by contract, do we have to maintain the same level of
Yes, we
support,
still
so we're
are
just
committed to the
reallocating?
$39,400.
Okay.
And my concern is I'm hearing from constituents that that's $39,000 wasted. So I wanted to make sure if we actually have any metrics on whether we're getting clicks for those ads that we're placing with the Courier. If it's not in circulation for a great number in the population, why are we still continuing to pay
Right.
this?
At the end of each year, we do a report. We get a report from the Courier with the clicks and the metrics, and the three services that we do have in place, they are showing that they are effective. Our most effective is pay-per-click, so that's going to be your Google searches. If you search the city of Cedar Falls, we're going to pop up at the top instead of having to scroll down. So we are getting some of those reports, and they are seeming to work out effectively for us based on those reports.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you, Bailey.
Thank you.
Any other questions, conversation from council? All right, seeing none, any from the public? Also seeing none, requires a roll call vote, please.
Six voting aye, one voting nay. Mr. Mayor?
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Item 28, resolution approving and authorizing execution of an agreement with the Department of Health, Recreation, and Community Services at UNI relative to an introduction to kayaking course. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
Motion seconded. And any discussion from council? Seeing none, any from the public, please? Just the name, please.
Jensen Jordan. So approving and authorizing execution of an agreement with the Department of Health and Recreation. River project, swimming, it makes sense. And I know that the junior highs are not on here, but that is of huge concern too, with youth not knowing how to swim. And so not knowing what type of agreement, if that was monetary or what was, behind all of that. It's just extending to make sure that we're covered so that I did teach swimming, and I know that there's fear, and we've got a lot of candy out there in that water. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Jensen Jordan. Anyone else for public comment this evening? All right, seeing none, any further discussion from council?
Looks like Ms. Sheets is ready to explain what this is, so.
Sure. This is a contract to partner with UNI to offer a river kayak course to take advantage of our new river asset. If there's concern about people needing to learn how to swim, we do offer swimming lessons. And that was a major advantage that we sold to the Gaming Commission and to the Vision Iowa Board as to why we needed to partner on the new community natatorium that's under construction.
Thank you, Director. Any other questions, discussion? Good eagle eye, Gil.
I'm usually looking at Gaines, but you don't know what kind of response you're getting out of him. He's stone-faced.
All right, requires a roll call vote, please.
All members voting aye, Mr. Mayor.
All right, the motion carries. Thank you, Madam Clerk. Item number 37, resolution determining the necessity and setting April 16th, 2025 as the date of consultation and May 5th, 2025 as the date of public hearing on a proposed Arbor's 6th urban renewal plan for a proposed urban renewal area in the city of Cedar Falls, Iowa. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
Motion seconded, and any discussion from council? I see none. Any from the public?
Craig Fairbanks, Cedar Falls. I just basically want to know what it means, what incentives go with it, and is this part of something new, or can somebody tell me that? That's all I had. So.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Fairbanks. Any other public comment on this tonight? All right, seeing none. Steph, anyone just going to give a quick overview of what the project is?
So really, this is just establishing an urban renewal area in the Arbors subdivision. We have been working with the developer there for some potential incentives, but that would come back before this council with, in the form of a development agreement.
So this is similar to other projects we did. This is setting just the district to give us the tool to work with them in that in the development agreement.
That's correct.
Okay, thank you. Any other discussions, questions from council? All right, seeing none, requires a roll call vote, please.
All members voting aye, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. The motion carries. Item number 38, resolution setting April 21st, 2025 as the date of public hearing on proposed amendments, Chapter 19, Article 8, Major Thoroughfare Plan of the Code of Ordinances, and Chapter 20, Subdivisions of the Code of Ordinances to update and establish definitions and regulations related to street connectivity. Is there a motion to approve?
So move.
Second.
Motion and seconded, and any discussion from council? Just for council and public, this is just setting the public hearing, so we won't actually be discussing the item tonight. It'll just be any discussion on the date that we're setting for the public hearing. Any discussion from council?
Mr. Mayor?
Yeah.
Will this have a fully drafted document? Is that, Mr. Rogers, your intention here? That it'll be the first reading for the, okay.
Yep, and then the full public hearing process
Right.
with that. Any other questions, conversation from council? All right, seeing none, any from the public? All right, seeing none, requires a roll call vote, please.
All members voting aye, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. That motion carries. Move to bills and claims. We have a motion to allow bills and claims for April 7th.
So moved.
Second.
Motion and second. Any discussion from council? Any from the public? Seeing none, requires a roll call vote, please.
All members voting aye, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. And then council updates and announcements. Anyone got anything?
Is Brian Heath still here? We could have the presentation.
If Brian would like to come, if everyone's got 45 minutes.
No.
I will not also that motion.
Bill, you might want to look around when you leave the building.
Mr. Mayor,
Yep.
although I've thoroughly enjoyed my last 4 hours with you all, I would just like to say, I have twin boys that are turning 10 today, and I spent 4 hours with you all. So happy birthday to my kids, Colton and Jackson. Thanks.
Happy birthday. It is also my wife's.
I knew that as well.
So
wanted to tee that up
happy
for you.
birthday to all the thank you. To my wonderful wife who's out there yelling at me. Loving me.
I doubt that.
Mr. Mayor.
She's yelling at me now for saying that.
Oh,
Yep. What do you got?
I'm really sorry. I'm going to add on to this, but I just wanted to call out the new Adopt a Spot program. So we're doing this really cool thing where if you're interested in doing like a cleanup and kind of taking ownership of an area in Cedar Falls, whether that's a park or a section of trail, you can go onto the city's website or social media and you can find out more about it. It's called Adopt a Spot.
Thank you, Counselor. I think we've already had 11 groups sign up.
I already put in mine.
So.
I've already signed up.
Nice.
Any other council
Is
updates
it
and
only
announcements?
us?
All right, seeing none. Any council referrals? Didn't have any written. Also seeing none, I'll look for a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Motion seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, everyone. We are adjourned.
Thanks for being here.